welcome to an Everyday Canines video. In this episode I want to talk to you about some of the types of wing wraps you will get in competition in which you'll be trained to do. If you remember from our previous video, a wing wrap is when our dog is coming up to the jump and we need them to turn tightly back on themselves, so they are wrapping the wing. When we're doing wing wraps, we are sometimes going to be wanting to keep the dog on the same arm as we did it, on the same drive arm, and sometimes we'll be wanting to change sides as part of our course. So the most fundamental wing wrap, come back this way, is what they call a pivot or a post turn, and it's the one that most people start with. So they're coming to the jump, and say for instance in this case I want her to turn tightly left. She's on my drive arm, which we talked about, and she's turning, and I'm going to keep her on my drive arm as I come round. You see Swift did it. So because I'm keeping her on my drive arm, it's a pivot, because what I'm doing is my body is pivoting. Good girl, I'll get you a biscuit for that, because that was really good. So I'm going to do the opposite side so you can see it on the opposite side. I've got my dog on my drive arm, the arm nearest to the dog, and I'm just going to ask her to turn. Oh, you took the pole out. And I pivoted with her. So if you watch my feet, and I'll do it again slowly, I came here, I was pivoting with my dog. That's a pivot. With a pivot, we expect our dogs to stay on the same arm all the way around. Sometimes we need our dogs to change arm. That means we're changing our drive arm, again the arm that's nearest the dog. So say for instance, she needs to come round, we're coming round this turn, and then we need to go over that way. And I need her to be on a different arm when I come round that turn because of the way I've got a handle next. It makes better sense when you start doing sequences. It's difficult to describe on a one jump. But basically you want to switch arms. One of the ways we do that is a front cross. They call it a front cross because you cross facing the dog. The dog is in front of you when you cross with them. So if I just show you very slowly, I would be bringing my dog on my drive arm, my near arm, to the jump. As they're doing the jump, good girl, I would switch arms and pick them up or collect them, make that connection on this arm. This arm now becomes the drive arm because it's nearest the dog. So I'll show you that a bit again, slowly. You're coming in with that arm, you're picking up on that arm. And I'm just going to show you the body language a bit more, and I'll come ahead so you can see that, because the body language also makes a difference. So when you're doing a front cross, your feet are going to be turning, but instead of a pivot where we went in a circle, your feet are going to turn back on themselves. You see what I mean? So in a pivot, you kept doing a circle. In a front cross, you're going to come and switch on yourself. You're going to flick back. So watch my feet slowly. So I'm going to come into that jump, and as I'm picking up, I turn my feet to face the new direction I'm going. And it does take practice, and as you get faster and faster, you know, you'll get really good at it in the habit. So if I show you what I would do with speed, okay, ready, check, check. Now I haven't got much space here, so it makes life harder, but I could run off, and because she's more experienced, I can actually do a stage where my feet check are facing the wrong way, and I've already turned before she takes the jump. But that's another thing. That's another advanced level. So that's your front cross. You're coming in, your dog is facing you, you're switching arms. One thing to bear in mind is when you switch your arm. So you need to switch your arm after the dog has taken the jump. If your dog is here and you switch arms, it confuses the dog. They might still do the jump, they might not, and they might pull off. So you need to think, my dog is now over the pole, I can change arms. Good girl. Again, that's a little maneuver you could practice in front of a mirror just to get it right. And of course you've got to do it both sides. I just did it on the right wing, but I'll show you it on the left as well. Okay, so again, I'd be coming up. This is now my drive arm because it's nearest the dog. And I drive, and I change, and now this is my driver. That's a front cross. Now, there's another version of this cross called a blind cross. In essence, what you're doing is the same. You're changing arms. So you're changing the side your dog will be running on after they come off the jump. But it's the way your body handles that turn that makes the difference. Now, not everybody does wing wraps like this, because not everybody thinks that's the right way to do blind. Now, some people have a system where the blinds are only ever done on a straight. But I handle and have wing wraps where I can use them on a blind, and a lot of people are doing that, and they are quite fast and speedier than a front cross of certain things. So just so you know what they are and how they work on a wing wrap, whether you choose to do them on a wing wrap or not, it's up to you, but just so you know how they function and what that looks like. So with a blind on a wing, we've got the same situation. Dog's coming around, we want to change arms. But this time, instead of facing the dog, we do this a bit like a pivot. We come round, we pivot, but then we collect on the different arm. So you remember the pivot, we came round, we collected on the same arm we sent the dog with. With the blind, we send on the pivot, but when we get there, we switch arms. It's called a blind because we're blind to our dog. We could also call it a back cross if we want to, because there's a front cross, the back cross. The dog is facing your back. In essence, you can't watch your dog so much, so you do have to trust your dog a bit more on those turns, because with front cross you can see exactly what your dog is doing. With blind, you can't see so well, and it's a little bit more dependent on your dog understanding their job, but they are faster. So I'm going to show you that very slowly so you can see what my feet are doing. Again, this is a little one that can take a little bit of getting your head round. So if we go here, Swift, and I tell you what, I have favourite sides for blinds. So you notice I picked this wing again? It's because I like to start on my left and pick up on my right. I'm not so keen on doing it that side. We all have our preferences on sides. So, with my blind, I'm asking my dog to come, and I'm switching. Now that was very slow on my part. I did it slow for you, but for Swift that was far too slow. And also I nearly ran into this. So let's try it again. Maybe I'll do it on that wing and okay, check, check. That is actually a tighter blind than I would ever do on a course, but for the sake of the space I've got. Normally I would do a blind much wider spaced out, so I can't really do it on here, but if I was doing it on a course, I wouldn't do it that tight. But you can see she can do it that tight. I'd probably be more over there or further away, so it wouldn't be that tight. But the essence is what it is. You're coming, you're doing the pivot, you pick up on the different arm. And also in general, when I was doing this blind, you can be here, but I would probably be more over here, so I'm picking up clearer. Those are your 3 basic wing wraps. There are other types I can talk to you about. They are more optional. We'll look at them in a different video, but those are the ones you're going to see the most often and the ones you're going to be asked to do. So I hope you've enjoyed this Everyday Canines video, and if you have, you might subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can click the notifications button so you know when new videos are coming out. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon.